Kakodosh Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. We're continuing with Hilchot of Sefirat Haomer. We mentioned last time about songs, about music. So here it's brought down that a person that's sick and that he needs music in order that this is part of his healing process. So therefore he's allowed to even lechatechila to listen to music during Sefirat Haomer. What about small children? So here it says that small children, right, that they are in, for example, a gan yiladim in a nursery or in a preschool. So therefore, for them, you're allowed to put on music in order that they should come, especially when we're talking about children's music. We're not talking about music that we would hear, right, on the tapes and things like that. These are small little tiny lullaby songs or all these types of songs that you have for little children, for circle time. So therefore, you could be mekel to put them on for them. And even the garanot, which are the women that are in charge of the preschool, they're also allowed to listen to it because since they are busy doing their work, so therefore they're allowed to as well. Now, to do with people or children that are learning musical instruments, so lechatechila, if they can, try to push off until after Lag BaOmer, right? There are lessons about learning, whether it's the piano or all the other musical instruments that they have. However, though, if it's going to be very difficult because there's going to be a hefsed, which means they're going to lose money, or for example, once they lose this consistency of learning how to play the music, so therefore it's going to be very difficult for them to go back on track. So therefore you could be mekel, because again, they're not doing it for pleasure, they're doing it because this is what they're doing in order to continue with their learning. And the one that's teaching, if they're doing it for the parnasah, so then for even more so, they're allowed to continue doing that. Now to do with, sometimes you have tapes, that in these tapes they have with Tehillim, they have different, they have, for example, Pirkei Tehillim with a little bit of music. So he says, you don't have to be makpida, there's no music whatsoever, because the main thing is the Tehillim, as long as it has very little music, so therefore the majority is for the singing of the Tehillim, then you're allowed to actually sing the Tehillim. Any type of a Seudat mitzvah, whether it's going to be a Brit Milah, Pidyon Ben, Bar Mitzvah, Siyum Masechet, so therefore in those times you're allowed to listen to music. And that's why obviously the Bar Mitzvah has to be Bo Bayom, the Bar Mitzvah has to be in that day in itself. Brit Milah obviously is any time that it's going to be a Brit Milah or Pidyon Ben. So therefore in these things you're allowed to listen to music. Now they do speak about today, which is going to be the Hirula of Rabbi Meir Balanes Pesach Sheni. So he says some people they come and they bring klishid, they bring music, and the rabbis say divrei Torah, musar, and they say it's a seudat mitzvah because at the end of the day it's Pesach Sheni. However, though, here he brings down that even with that you would still have to do a siyum masechet in order to consider it a seudat mitzvah, and then you would be able to, because without so, then you would not be able to. The last halakha that I'm going to mention is very interesting because people ask me this to do with on Erev Shabbat, right, in the afternoon, or for example on Motzei Shabbat. So he says here like this, Bimei Haomer, during the days of the Omer until Lag BaOmer, you're not supposed to listen to any type of music. Also on Friday afternoons, in the afternoon, late afternoons, or Motzei Shabbat, and also on Rosh Chodesh Iyar. And some people that they come, or for example in the radios, there's even religious radios that they have music. So he says that's in order that they should just listen to Jewish music and not chas v'shalom, not Jewish music. However, though, he says the words, Mi she'irat Hashem nogat lelibo, somebody that the fear of God is in his heart, is touching his heart, he says he has to be machmir also on Erev Shabbat, after Chatzot, and also on Motzei Shabbat. He says unless a person does Seudat Melaveh Malka every single week with klishid, so then it could be considered a Seudat Mitzvah. And then he says, however, though on the Chag HaMimona, there's always a minhag to do it, because technically during Chol HaMoed, for sure you're allowed to. The question is, what about the Mimona, which is going to be on Motzei Pesach? So he says there's a minhag to be lenient, that we also listen to music. However, though, if it's going to be pushed off an extra day, so for example, this year, like for an example in Eretz Yisrael, they did the Mimona, they would have had to do it on Friday night, because on Shabbat, right, was already finished Pesach. So therefore for us, we're still, the Mimona is only a Motzei Shabbat. For them it was Friday night, it was pushed off to Motzei Shabbat. So he says in such a case, then it's proper that they should do the Siyum Masechet on the night of the Mimona in order to listen to music. So in Eretz Yisrael this year, they had a stringency that we didn't have. So for us, on the Motzei Shabbat, which is the Mimona proper for us, we were allowed to listen to music. But for them, in order for them to listen to music, they would have had to come and do a Siyum Masechet in order for them to listen to music on that day.